Real quick, before we start this podcast episode, I just want to say thank you for tuning into the Marc Olser podcast. I know you've got a million things that you could be doing right now, and the fact that you're taking time out of your day to watch this podcast episode truly means the world to me, and I just want to say thank you for that. If you'd like to continue to support the podcast, right below this video, if you could hit the subscribe button, and then, hey, if you got some more time and you want to hit the download button, the comment button, the like button, the share button, any of those buttons, it's greatly, greatly appreciated. It helps for other people to find out about the podcast, and it helps for you to be notified about future episodes. So if you guys could take a quick second, hit the subscribe button, I would really appreciate that. Outside of that, this episode and every other episode is brought to you guys by Roast Umber Coffee. As some of you guys know, I co-founded Roast Umber Coffee, and we have the greatest farmers in Guatemala and Honduras and the greatest roaster in Grand Rapids, Michigan, all to bring you guys the greatest cup of coffee possible. So if you'd like to try it out, go to our website, use the coupon code MARC30, and you're going to get 30% off your coffee. Now on to the episode. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Welcome to the Marc Olser podcast. There we go. How we sounding, crispy?
Yeah, sound good, feel good.
Yeah, damn right.
Hopefully look good.
Of course. They say the camera adds 10 pounds. Do you need 10 pounds?
I could use it in my shoulders,
okay.
man.
Oh, dude, I'll make sure. I'll make sure it adds it in there. So, dude, I've been looking forward to this for a minute. We have been talking about doing this podcast for easily like a month and a half now. I mean, so much shit has happened.
I know you're a difficult guy to track down, Marc.
Dude, we had the one day that we were supposed to record, and you were like, yo, I'm heading over in whatever it was, few hours. And I was like, dude, you're never going to believe the reason why I got to reschedule this. But last night, had a few too many drinks, bump into my stove when I'm going to bed, turn the gas on accidentally, come downstairs in the morning, and my whole apartment smells like gas. Fire department had to come out here the whole night.
Oh, you brought the fire department?
They had to, because they were like, because when I told the apartment complex, they were like, we need to make sure that like straight up your apartment's not going to blow up. Oh. So I was like, well, okay. Yeah.
That was a wild one.
Yeah, that was a day. So easily the most random reason why I've had to reschedule a podcast. So appreciate you being flexible, dude.
Dude, thanks for having me on. I knew we were going to get it in. So I've been looking forward to this one for a while, Marc. I've been looking forward to this.
There we go. So, well, hey, man, for people who don't know who you are, can you give a 30-second, I know that's tough to do, but give me a 30-second brief intro. Who are you?
My favorite question, but I'm ThreadGuy. Michael in real life will dox the names, but I'm a Web3 fucking degen content creator, spaces host, sort of sit in what I like to think is all facets of just like culture in the Web3 space. Been looking to expand, but that's a little ThreadGuy TLDR.
There we go. Okay, so when you're talking to somebody, let's say it's somebody that you've known from like high school or whatever, and they're like, yo, dude, what are you up to now? Like, how do you answer that question?
That's my actual least favorite question.
Yeah, dude, same here.
I throw out some feelers. So like, I need to figure out like how interested are you actually? So like, I'll drop out the like, oh, I work at a software startup, and like for like. And for like 85% of people, that's like good. Oh, sick. Yeah, I work at Gold Gym. Cool. Good. There's like the other 15% that hits you with the like, what do you do? And I'm like, I do marketing at a software startup. And for like 95%, that's like good. Got it. Cool. Every once in a while, I would say usually people I've already known that are curious to see my Instagram, they see my stories, like what the fuck is he up to? We'll actually dive deep and we'll try to go into it. I mean, it's the toughest to like get into technicalities of like what is an NFT, what is crypto. It's a lot easier to go like the content creation route. I do Twitter Spaces, I do a podcast, I do Twitter. This is my account. It's a lot easier, I've found, to talk content creation rather than the specifics of what you create content about. But I mean, it's like a brutally difficult. I mean, what is the answer? Like, do you just like get into DeGods? Like, how do you answer that question?
I always say I have a podcast about like forward-thinking tech. That's
emerging tech.
Yeah, emerging tech is another one. Yeah. But yeah, no, I was in North Carolina last week and I'm getting a massage, and the lady's like, "So what do you do for a living?" And I was like, "What a conversation to have while I'm getting a massage." And I was like, "But yeah, so I have a podcast about," I was like, for her, I was like, digital art. And she was like, "Oh, I'm huge into art." And so then we ended up diving for an hour and a half into digital art. And you know, I might have onboarded her. I don't know.
There you go. I almost feel like I'm so like on guard about receiving the question because I hate answering it. I almost feel like threatened sometimes when someone's like, "What do you do?" I'm like, Like, why do you care? Like, why do you like? Who's asking? Like, why do you want to know?
Yeah, no, it is I mean, but that's my whole life has been like awkward with answering that question, right? Because like previous to this, doing photography, working with like, you know, in social media and Instagram and everything like that, especially in like 2015, when you said to somebody like, oh, I'm like working full time in like Instagram content, they were like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah,
right?
what does that mean?
So hopefully what that means is that years from now, people are going to be like, oh, Web3, dope. I understand that.
Yeah, it's nice when you meet someone for the first time who you didn't meet through Twitter and they get it.
Yeah.
Like I was just at the barber, shout out to Dean, wherever the camera is, and Koopa Troopa introduced me to him. And he's like, kind of in crypto, like kind of not, but like knows enough about what's going on that we just like sat down and talked about crypto Twitter for 2 hours, like during the haircut. And like that is a nice feeling when you like connect with someone on the topic that you didn't like already reply guy on Twitter, you know?
100%. No, I was walking. See, and these stories always sound like bullshit, but I was walking through Beverly Hills with two guys from The Bachelor, right? So you would expect like if anybody's gonna get recognized, it would be them, right? So I'm walking with them and I'm wearing my D-God shoes. I got my Air Force Ones that have the D-Gods logo on them and whatnot. And this dude like stops me and he's like, bro, are those D-God shoes? And
Really?
he's like, dude, I've been debating buying a D-God. Is like now the time to be buying one? And I was like, listen, I don't know if you're a Fed. I don't know if I could be giving you financial advice here. And I was like, you make that decision on your own. But it was like, man, real random to like run into somebody who recognizes the D-God shoes, like the shoes.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard
That's
thing
a
to
tough one on the feet too.
Right. You walking, you know, they'd walk.
You told him whatever you think you know, you don't know shit.
You don't know shit. Oh man, that was like right after all that shit went down.
Yeah, too soon.
So yeah, too soon. I still got PTSD. Yeah. But okay, dude. So we got to dive into your entire background. So how old are you?
21.
21 years old. God, fresh.
I used to have to lie about it, but now I can.
Dude, I'm almost a decade older than you. Shit, that it makes me feel ancient. But okay, so walk me through like when you were like 15, 16. Where did you think your life was going? Like, what did you think you were gonna end up going to college? Did you go to college? Like, walk me through.
Yeah, word.
Yeah, the young ThreadGuy.
Yeah, so my whole like, really like everything before high school. Then high school was like a combination of like basketball, and reselling. So like my first experience with like side hustles and really like I never had a job. I worked one job. I was a cart boy on a golf course for one summer. I think I was going in my junior year. It was the only job I ever had in my life, like job. And so like for me, I really got introduced with like money and like the side hustle through like reselling. So like flipping sneakers, flipping streetwear, flipping Supreme. Like every Thursday at fucking 11 Eastern, I got a doctor's note. I'm driving home, bought in Supreme, like coming back to school. And that was sort of my like, it's funny because the sneaker reselling scene it was like crypto before crypto. And there's a lot of similarities with like sneaker Twitter and crypto Twitter, but it was the same thing. Like there was influencers and there was alpha groups and there was like the devs that coded these bots that would make everyone a lot of money, and sort of the way like the social hierarchy and just like crypto Twitter like connections networking game worked. It was the same shit in sneaker Twitter. So like I was young, I didn't have a lot of money, I wasn't very good at reselling, but like I was exposed to it, and like I was in the discords and I got like a taste of it. Like
how much were you making at the time?
For me it was like because I wasn't really running these like intricate bot setups. It's like there's that's the first time too I learned there's levels to this shit. I was probably making like anywhere from like 300 to maybe like 1,500 a month, depending on how I did. It's like maybe I stay up till 4 a.m., get a pair of Yeezys, flip it for 200, 300. Not a lot of money now, but in high school when you don't have a job, it's like, and you cook a box logo on Supreme and flip it for 500 in the same day. It's like, what the fuck? But that was my first experience, you know, like meeting 15-year-old kids that are spending 6 figures on every drop and having like a personal UPS truck come to their house to deliver the 300 pairs, right? And so like 200 profit on one pair of Yeezys isn't a lot, but if you cook 300 pairs, it's a whole different game. And so that was like my first experience really with like money and side hustling and flipping and trying to make money. And I went to college. So the basketball thing was always like basketball. By the time I graduated high school, it just like wasn't what I wanted to do anymore at that level. And so I went to college for a year, really having like no clue what I wanted to do. But it was like, I was blessed to have an opportunity to go to college. And so it was like, rather than do nothing, I'm just going to go because fuck it. Like, let's go. And I went, and college isn't for me. But I went and I found cards, physical sports cards in college. I was still doing the reselling thing. I was still kind of familiar with sneaker Twitter, some of these groups, and I found physical sports cards, which, mind you, I graduated high school in 2020. So my freshman year of college was like COVID year, right? So where it's like full masks, like lockdown, like stimmy season. So like collectibles. I should have been buying NFT, should have been buying crypto. I wasn't. I was buying sports cards. Just like everything else was like, boom, going crazy. So there was like so my like short story on the cards is I had no money in like August of 2020, my freshman year of college. And I basically was given a free membership to the equivalent of like an alpha group in NFTs. It was a card reselling group. So they give you information on like what's dropping where, because the unreleased packs would flip. And then there would be like callers, alpha callers that would call like individual cards, like LeBron 03 rookie Prism is gonna double the next 6 months, right? And I was in this group that I got for free, and I was looking at what these people are doing, these alpha callers, and I'm like, man, I can fucking do this. Like, I can really do this. So I made an Instagram account and a TikTok account, and basically posted like free calls for like a month, because I was like, I just need like some success, need to show to myself and some other people I can do it. And we're in an up-only market. Everyone's genius in a bowl. So I made my thing was I make a call a day for free just to my 100 followers, and I probably got like 8, 9, 10 different instances of like success. Card went up to where I called it. And so I basically went around and like cold DM'd like every single fucking alpha group in the sneaker scene in all of Twitter. Like it's in like 1,000 DMs. And I was basically like, yo, let me get a free trial to like give sports card calls for your group. And like 1 or 2 was like, fuck it, come on for a week, make some calls. So again, everyone's genius in a bull. Everything's going up only. So I go in like one of these groups, like a fairly reputable group, and I make calls every day for a week, and like one of them 2 or 3x'd. So they're like, fuck it, we'll bring you on. And mind you, as one of these like callers, you're probably getting like anywhere between like $50 and $100 a month, which is like not anything crazy for one group. But I basically took that group and went to every other one and was like, yo, I work for X group that has, is kind of clouded in the scene. Like, let me get a trial. And so like 4 or 5 months into my freshman year of college, I was probably working for like 40 groups.
Oh shit.
Doing sports cards. Like it happened like fast. And I was like, I loved it. But what happened is the market just died. And I could feel it. It was really, really, really slowing down. I should have been buying NFTs. And I want to say like December of 2020, one of my like card buddies hit me up and they're like, yo, have you heard of NBA Top Shot? I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is NBA. Like these NFTs. I'm like, what the fuck is an NFT? I don't fucking know what this is. And I checked out Top Shot and I spent like a couple $100 just to see, like, why not? We'll see what this is. Digital sports cards. I get sports cards. I don't know what an NFT is, but I get sports cards. And basically from December where I bought to like January, February, like March of 21, like Top Shot, like did what Top Shot did. And that was like my segue into NFTs. Faded the Bored Ape Mint. Basically the transition was everyone cooked on Top Shot into like March, April, and then went to Bored Apes. I faded the Bored Ape Mint. I actually yesterday was on my card Twitter account and found the tweet where I faded Bored Apes. Maybe we can pull it up at some point.
Damn, okay.
Saw the tweet where I faded Bored Apes. Kind of like put crypto down that whole spring and summer. And then when I came back to school my sophomore year in August, school started, made the ThreadGuy Twitter account, dropped out of college, and we were full time.
Damn, dude, that's an epic story. That's super, super cool. It's always, that's my favorite part about doing these podcast episodes is learning like how somebody came to be, because it's like how everybody got into the space is so different. And so getting into like the reselling aspect, and then like you took me down memory lane because I've been deep into sports cards since I was like 13 years old, and me being 13 was many, many moons ago. Yeah. And so I got back into sports cards in 2020. So, so I was kind of same thing, buying and selling. I wasn't in a lot of alpha groups, but I was just like, I was prospect hunting. So a lot of times I would find guys that like, I was like, hey, this dude's like 18 years old, just came over from like Puerto Rico. He's about to dominate. And so then like last week, Jason Dominguez made his debut for
Hit
the
a homer.
Yankees, and he hit 3 homers in his first 5 games, which was I think the last guy that did that was Mickey Mantle, which was crazy. And so it was like I felt like I was watching my son grow up because I was like, man, I've been buying his cards for years, and now he's like actually making his debut. So man, he just took me down memory lane.
It's crazy that he that just happened too, because when I was buying cards, like the Dominguez hype was like through the
Crazy.
roof. And he was still like, they just signed him. He was in the minors.
Yeah.
And they're paying like, it was the Dominguez, the Zion Williamson hype, and then the Luka hype was like stupid when I was doing cards.
Oh yeah, I had a buddy that's real wealthy in crypto, and I said to him, I was like, "There's this Luka Doncic card that you should buy. It's going for like $150,000 right now, right?" And he was like, "Bro, I'm not spending that." And I was like, "I'm telling you, this card's about to like do crazy numbers. I can't afford to buy it, but like you should." And he's like, "Nah, I'm good." And he has the money to do it and everything like that, right? Didn't buy it. Card resold for $4 million. Like probably a year and a half later, but still $4 million. I was like, damn, see, that could have been you.
Could have been you, man.
Okay, so walk me through like, okay, so how did you start seeing success with ThreadGuy? So you get into NFTs, you create the ThreadGuy account. Like, did you automatically start making content? Were you kind of taking some of the same principles of like alpha calling on NFTs, or like?
So for me, it was like, I just came from sneaker Twitter, right? And I was like, I've seen this. Like, I don't get the tech, but like I understand what's the social side. I get what's happening here. And I know you need a Twitter following because I'd seen that. That was a game in sneaker Twitter. It didn't matter if you were like the biggest whale or the best dev, but like if you had a community, like you could get shit done. And I'm like, I need to figure out how to grow in this fucking platform, but like I'm not a founder. I have no technical knowledge to like give you information on. I'm definitely not a whale. I'm not a trader. Like, what the fuck can I do? I'm like, well, I can really write. And I noticed an arbitrage opportunity where I'm like, man, all these, because it's August, right? So like Bored Apes are like a couple months in. The art market's going crazy, but like PFPs were still like so early. Nothing's really happened yet. And I noticed that I'm trying to find information on these projects and I can't find shit. Like you can't Google it and find, articles and research reports. You can't find any information on anything. I'm like, if I'm having this problem, I can imagine everyone else having this problem too. So that's like the ThreadGuy name came from that. It was Discover X NFTs, like a random name. And I wrote a thread, my first post, because I know I have 0 followers. I'm not going to get engagement on GM. So I wrote a Top Shot thread, which I understood. And the Top Shot, my first post ever, and it probably got like 600-700 likes. I probably got like 200-300 followers, and I was like, oh yeah, I bet. Like I found it. And so basically from like that thread until I want to say like December, I did nothing. There was no personality. There was no like takes. There was no really anything, no spaces, no nothing other than like 2-3 times a week I would write a thread. And so I had like a list. I had a list of probably like 50 people that I was like, I need a mutual follow from this whole list. And so I just like went down it and I was like, cool. Pixelvol is a popping project. I want a Beanie follow back, like Pixelvol thread. Or like cool cats are popping. I want a Clon follow back, like cool cats thread. And what I found was like every thread is probably ballpark like 30 to 50 new followers. And my number was 10K. My number was always like, because I had said to myself, I'm going to take a semester off of college, right? So I'm like, if I can hit 10K followers by January, spring semester, like I'm good. And so that was like the strategy was like threads. If every thread can give me 50 followers, I just have to write enough threads to hit 10K. And that was it for me. And I probably, I took a job like pretty early because I had to make some money with Floaty, which is a peer-to-peer lending platform on the Flow blockchain. So it was like mostly NBA Top Shot. Shout out to Michael Levy, wherever you are, the GOAT. And I did like all their writing, all their Substack and their Medium and all their write-ups and tutorials, how to. And I basically just like did nothing but write threads, write for Floaty until I got like let go in December. And December is when I had like 7K followers and I made my first viral shit post. I'll never forget it. It was Jimmy Kimmel. You remember like Jimmy Kimmel was like on air doing like a Bored Ape. He switches PFP and then he's like on air showing the Bored Ape and shit. The market was going crazy. And so I made a tweet. I like never really like shit posted or anything. It was the tweet is literally like, I can't believe Jimmy Fallon started a bull run in 2022 or something. And it got like, I remember it was the same day that I wrote a thread on a project I can't remember. It took me like man, like 12 hours to write this thread. I really didn't want to do it. I was sick of it. I was burnt out, but I did it anyways. I posted it. I got like 100 likes, and I was just like frustrated. I was frustrated. Didn't feel like I was growing fast enough. I wasn't trading. The market was going crazy. Everyone else was trading. I'm just tweeting. I didn't feel like I was growing fast enough. I was fucking frustrated. And I posted this thread, gets like 100 likes, and then I made this shit post, and I got like 1,000 likes. And I was like, whoa. Like a shit, I was literally like on the toilet, like dropped it. Like actual shit post. Got like 1,000 likes. I'm like, yo, that took me 2 seconds. Like, what the fuck? And that was sort of like, it was funny because at the same time I stopped sort of working my job and I was like wide open again. And basically from that day forward, I probably wrote like 1 or 2 more threads, and it became like, how many times can I tweet in a day? How many fucking times can how many original tweets can I make in a day? Because we're just gonna like flood this algorithm. And that was like the switch from like threads only to like ThreadGuy the personality, if that makes sense.
That's epic, dude. That's super cool. I mean, it's always interesting too to see how somebody kind of started to gain that relevancy in Web3 and everything like that. See, the shit posting game, I don't really have that kind of, like, my brain doesn't work like that. Like, I'll read something, and I'm like, that's funny as hell, and I'm like, I would not have thought to like come up with
I'll
that.
tell you, it was like, man, it was probably some of like January, February, March, April, probably like. So I took a job. We could talk about that in like May 1st. With Tally Labs. It was like the first like full-time job, and I was like, all right, I'm through. But probably like December to like May 1st, 4 or 5 months, I was living in Richmond in college, wasn't taking classes, and I literally was doing nothing, bro, but fucking wake up at like 9, go to the gym, and then like 10 to 10 to like smoke weed and tweet. It was like, honestly, like I remember looking back on it and like feeling a lot of pressure, like feeling a lot of weight. I got to make money. I got to go faster, whatever it is. But now I look back on it, I was like, man, that was like some of the best 6-month stretch like of my life. Like so peak bull vibes, like euphoria. And the thing about it too was like, that was one of the best times to be on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
because it was electric, and it was electric at a level that was like, there was so much happening. I mean, you could be on Twitter like literally the entire day, like nothing else but like NFT Twitter, and miss like major news. Like you could be on it all fucking day and miss like major news. And that was a stretch. Like that was a fucking time to be alive.
Dude, so here's my question for you on that then. So we obviously during the bull market, it's exciting to be, anything you talked about popped off at the time, right? Like it was like every day there was a new project that was crushing it. Like there was always nonstop content, right? Then we get into the bear market, and a lot of that content kind of goes away, right? Like there's not as much exciting things to talk about, right? If anything, it's the negative to talk about. Hey, this NFT used to be worth this amount. Now it's worth this, right? This project just soft rug. This project just hard rug. This project, the founder just left. This project, blah, 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 right? This project, all this negative shit, right? And to me, it's kind of the equivalent of like, I got into crypto in like 2016, 2017. And like when we had the big, bear market after that, there was a solid, I would say like 2.5 years where when you talked about crypto, it was just boring. Like there was just nothing exciting, right? And that all kind of came to a head at the day that like the world shut down for COVID, right? And crypto crashed even more. And then all of a sudden it just went nuclear from there, right? And so obviously it became exciting to talk about crypto after that. Then NFTs come along shortly after that, and the rest is kind of history from there. But now we're back in that bear market aspect of things, even though like where we are right now in crypto is way higher than we were in that last bear market, right? So it's like if you told me back then that we'd be like depressed about the numbers that we're at right now, I would have been like, no shot, right? Because we're talking about ETH being at $100, right? Yeah. So very, very different market. So and it took that time to get back into the bull market, get back into the excitement, get back into the world where you didn't feel crazy talking to other people about what you're doing, right? So for you, in the space that we're in right now, where it's depressing on Twitter a lot of times, right? We have these moments of like fun and you get a random like good news about an ETF and the bull market vibes are there for a second, but like we're still in a bear market. We understand that. So how do you deal with times like this? Like, is it hard for you? Do you ever have times where you're like, fuck, am I like making the right calls?
I think, it's tough. One, like, let's just like be real. It's also my first like real cycle. So I've never really experienced bear like this. And to go from like giga euphoria all day, every day, nonstop to like where we are now. It's tough. I also see like quite a few silver linings in it. And like without the bear, selfishly, like I don't get to where I feel like I've gotten to. Because the one thing about the difference between the bull and the bear is like the bull market, like yes, there's so much news, anything you talk about goes crazy, everything does numbers. But at the same time, like so does everybody else's. So like one thing I felt really hard in the bull is I was like, man, like I feel like I'm doing some really like putting out some really dope shit. Like my content is fire right now. Like I'm on one, but there's like too many other people that are doing the same thing that have already been doing it. To cut through the noise is like impossible. Like it's really difficult to cut through the noise in the bull because nobody cares. They have a million other things to do. And there's probably a 10x they just missed in the time they paid attention to you. So it's like the bull market vibes is like, yes, everything's up only, but also everything's up only. You can't cut through. The bear is like a whole different game because it's like off rip. It feels like it sort of switches between like a quality game to like a stamina game a little bit, especially on the content side. Is like you don't necessarily have to be making like the best shit and getting like 6-figure views and breaking monetization numbers. You just have to like be here tomorrow in a lot of instances. And so like the one thing I found as we went bearish, there's like a lot of people that I see like feel that I'm like competing with, not in like a PvP sense, but just in like, you know, you compare yourself to your peers, whether it's beneficial or not. Is in the bear, I feel like I've been able to really get an edge because a lot of people have either like already made it and just aren't as interested in crypto, or they've sort of like taken their foot off the gas a little bit. And so I've sort of feel like in the bear, like I've seen this like massive land grab, especially like a content creator. Like you look around spaces, podcasts, whatever it is, there really aren't that many people doing it. Right. So it's like, if you're doing it, you're consistent and it's quality. If you just like do it for long enough, you're going to fucking win. Like I look at your podcast and I'm like, man, there's going to be a day in a not so distant future where like crypto is cool again. And like when crypto is cool again and people like really care again, like all those videos are going to go crazy, and all the future ones are going to get, you know, the biggest guests and do huge numbers because you've established you can do it well over like a sustained period of time. I think that's the hardest part is like in the bull, you don't really know, like you kind of get lost in the sauce. I was lost in the sauce. It was my first time experiencing it. And you kind of get like, it's just like happy go lucky, numbers up, everyone's rich, everyone's here. And you sort of think that that's the way that it is. But then it's like the tide drops, we go bearish, people aren't making the money they used to make, and you sort of like get to see real motives and you get to like trim the fat. Because you look around crypto Twitter now and it's like, man, if you're still here and like still putting in work, you got a project, you're a content creator, whatever it is, like you probably are here for mostly the right reasons. Or if you're not, you're still going to be here for a significant period of time. Because like right now is not the time to like people aren't coming to the space to grift anymore. Like your project is not selling out. Like your shitcoin, cool, you'll rug it, make a little bit, but you're not hitting a bill market cap. Like those things just like aren't happening like what happened in the bull. So I think the biggest thing for me is it sort of feels like it's quiet and the noise is gone. And you can sort of like see through the fog a little bit and sort of like make the calculated plays multiple steps ahead, where in the bull, it feels like you're just trying to catch up. Like it feels like you're just trying to catch up. Oh, I missed that play. Oh, I missed that. Oh, I missed that. In the bear, it feels like you can be ahead of your moves a little bit. I mean, I'd be lying if I said to you, especially being on the content side, like I didn't feel it, feel some weight, feel some like pressure, like of course. But at the same time, as I look around, you touched on this, and I wanted to jump in, and I didn't want to cut you off, where it's like, if you just read Twitter and the sentiment and how people are acting and who's left and how many wallets are trading, you would think ETH is like $500. You would think Bored Apes are 5K. You would think Bitcoin is sub 10K. You look at the market, and I was having this exact conversation yesterday with someone, and I'm like, man, I've never been through a bear cycle, but what we've experienced with Luna and 3 Arrows and Celsius and FTX and all this shit, like we've really seen some shit. Twitter is like a ghost town, and the market really isn't that bad. Like it's really not that bad. And I think looking at it from that perspective, like gives me some confidence, some comfort in where we are.
Yeah. No, I mean, I completely agree. I think if you look at like where we were in during like FTX, which was basically like almost a year ago, right?
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. That was a year ago.
Yeah. I mean, this time flies by in this space, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I remember that day like just being so sad. And then Easy put a space together that
The Solana space.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That
actually.
went nuclear. And it was like every big Solana founder was in there. And then at the same time, I want to say Vitalik tweeted out, I want to say during that space, something like bullish about Solana.
I remember that.
And Solana bottomed at $8 and then I think bounced up to like 11. And like everybody was like, oh man, I think we found the bottom. I think we found the bottom. And it was like, and people were so just excited. And it was like, even though we were down bad like a motherfucker, it was like we found a way to still be excited. And I think that's the biggest difference between a lot of the bear markets that I've felt in the past, because like the first bear market I truly felt in life was 2008 with the housing market crash. And that was at a time, like I grew up in a pretty wealthy neighborhood, and all of a sudden I start seeing houses foreclose, and I see neighbors moving out that I always thought would be living next to me, my entire life. And I'm too young to understand completely what's happening, but I'm like, this is wild, and then my mom was like, oh yeah, so-and-so lost their job. So-and-so lost their job. And I was like, fuck. And I was like, Mom, are we good? And I remember like, that was the first time I've ever felt like shit. Am I going to have a roof above my head? Right. And my mom was like, yeah, like we're good. We're going to be fine. Like, don't worry about it. But it was the first time I felt like my like glass, safety net or, glass, whatever around me, like shatter a little bit, like started to feel the pressure a little bit. Right. And then, and then you saw the opportunity that's come from there, right? How many people have crushed it in real estate since then, right? Even though that was a terribly ugly time, there was a lot of people who made huge gains after that, right? Then we get into the next kind of mini bear in like 2016, 2017, and now we're in the position that we're in right now, right? So it's like I've seen these different cycles in so many different ways, and I think you just learn different things throughout it. But the coolest part about this is that we have each other to literally like be there for each other during this, which sounds almost like cliche and dumb of like, hey, we all got each other, right? Wag me. Yeah. But it's like, in the reality of it is way more fun to like, when you're down bad and you go into a Twitter space and you see you bringing the fucking energy and you see Leap running the space at, 11 o'clock at night. And it's like, you see, Kevin doing his thing and you see, dropping a skit, you see, all these different things that are happening at any one point in time. It's like, man, it's okay. Hey, we're down bad, but we're still having fun. And that's a beautiful thing,
Yeah, that's the one part. That's why I speak so highly of IRL events, because I get that it's like crypto events are kind of cringe. They're like easy to make fun of. People laugh at the DeGod's worm, whatever it is. But like, man, IRL events are so important because it feels like even like this is like, no matter how bearish you are, no matter how much I feel it, it's like you go in real life and like you meet the people and hang out with the people behind the screens that are also fucking crazy like you are. It just like gives you a layer of like confidence that like, man, this whole thing might be in flames, but at least if we go down, at least I'm not going down alone. Yeah. Like at least I'm not the only crazy person here. Like I don't know. I'm giga bullish on IRL events, even in the bear, even in bad times, because it's like that connection I feel like is important, man. Because we could talk on spaces all day, but there's something about that reassurance of like being in real life, not just one or two people, but like the whole community, the whole space, depending on where you're at, that shares like similar beliefs is fucking important. So I think you make a great point. Like, at least you're not going down alone, Yeah,
no, and it's going to be, and when we do get to the next bowl, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. Because all the people that are here together, everybody who's putting in time still on Twitter, doing their thing, it's like, man, I'm so looking forward to some of the people who have taken huge L's catching huge W's.
Huge
and like,
dubs.
It's going to be there, because there's been so many people that have just had, they aped into a project, it goes down. They ape into a shit coin, it goes to zero. They, do this, they do that. They get, they're leverage trading and they get fucked on that. Like, so many people have gotten screwed in the last year, and I'm looking so forward to all those people catching huge W's, because if you're here right now, man, you deserve a W. Like, that is the reality of it. Like, it's tough to
And
maintain.
I really believe that.
Yeah.
Like, I really believe that.
Yeah, man. It's like, it's tough being here during a bear market. Like, it's not nearly as fun. So like, if you can still find that enjoyment and you're still participating every day, it's like, man, I appreciate every one of those motherfuckers. And you, dude, I got to give you a huge amount of credit. Every time I go on Twitter and there's like, you'll tweet out something and all of your responses to everybody are always so like happy and bullish and exciting. And like, it just makes me feel good about the space, because I'm like, you're recognizing all the people that have 100 followers and they're showing up every day, and you appreciate those people as much as you appreciate the person who's got 250,000 followers. And I appreciate the fuck out of that about you, because there's a lot of people in life who are like, well, if you don't have that 10K, I'm just not even giving you the time of day. And you give everybody the time of day. And I respect the hell out of that, because we need more people like that, because a lot of those people are going to end up rising up, and it's going to be fun to watch those people. And even the ones who don't care to rise up, like, it's just, man, it's great energy just seeing you just showing love to everybody. So, dude, I love the fuck out of that.
Hey, thanks, Mark.
No problem,
I think it's something I've always tried to focus on, because I remember, like, I'll say this. I remember having 500 followers, 0 followers. I had a fucking list, bro. I still have it somewhere. There's like 50, 100 accounts. And I'm like, these are going to be mutual followers. Like, it's going to happen. And I just like remember like how much, like, I still remember the first like influencer that followed me, like, large account, is Moon Overlord. He probably had like 200, 150K. I had like 1,000. I still remember the follow. And I just remember thinking, like, for him to click that button to follow back, it's nothing. It literally means nothing. He follows 10,000 people. It's insignificant. He'll never think about it again. For me, having 200 followers, like, I'm thinking about that all day. I'm thinking about it all week. Every time I reply to him, I'm checking it, make sure I still got the follow back. Like, I'm thinking about that. That means something. So I look at when like the roles are reversed, and it's like, man, if someone like makes a nice post about me, or even like makes a meme, even like makes fun of me, and like takes the time to like tweet about me, like show me love, whatever it is, like, bro, you're getting a retweet and a follow back. Like, why wouldn't I? Almost don't understand, not just influencers and people, personal accounts, but like project accounts. Like, bro, you're a fucking project. You have this really large account. Basically, the only thing you can give people other than free money is engagement. Frank talks about it a lot. People want fucking Twitter engagement. And it's like, you have this account and you have like a diehard community member who's like repping your PFP and like makes some piece of content, or like makes some edit, or like does something, makes some art for your project. You're just like not gonna fucking follow back and like retweet. Like, why not? Why wouldn't you? Right? It's like this whole game is, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like comes down to Twitter for at least a big percentage of it, right? Like, do people care about and like and support what you're doing on Twitter? And it's like, if you're not going to show love back as a fucking project account, like, what kind of community can you even pretend to build?
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%. So, okay, so I want to get back into your timeline for one more second. So you talked about how from basically December 2021 through like May 2022, you were basically smoking weed and tweeting and just slinging it on Twitter. And then in May 2022, you start working for Tally Labs. So walk me through from there to like bring me up to current day. Kind of walk me through the whole ThreadGuy timeline from there.
Yeah, the Tally Labs thing was wild, because I remember, like, I don't know, I ask people, like, when I do interviews, I ask people a lot, or like every once in a while, I'll throw the question out, like, what was the moment you like realized you made it? That moment for me when I took that job, like, that was my like a light bulb moment. Like, it wasn't the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. It didn't, buy me a Lamborghini and like move me into an LA penthouse. But I remember, like, I got that job offer, and it was the first time, because I wasn't very much in the spot, man, where I'm still in it. Where I had like a lot of followers on Twitter. I had a lot of engagement. Like, I was doing the thing, but I didn't really like know what I was doing. Like, I was like doing it, but it was kind of like if you were to like interview me in like May of 22, like, as like, what do you do? Because up to this point, I hadn't even hosted a Twitter space. Never hosted a space. So I was like, what do you do? Like, what are you going to do for us? It's like, I don't know. Like, do you have marketing experience? Not really. I don't have a degree. I don't like, it's like, because I had so many of these interviews, man, for like positions I knew I was qualified for, in jobs like I knew I deserved to be at, but I just like couldn't interview because they're like, we don't know what to really do with you, right? And I think like Tally was the first company that was like, fuck your title. My official title is Director of Vibes. They're like, bro, fuck your title. Like, I don't care about your title. And I was like, well, I remember being in the interview too, like, what do you want me to do? And they're like, well, kind of everything, like a little bit of everything. We don't really know. That's why we don't really want to give you a title. Like, we want you to just like come be ThreadGuy and just like do what you do. And it was the first like company that like real company that like really took me seriously. Cause I was like, here's the thing. If you looked even now, especially then, if you look just like surface level at like my content and you're some like corporate, like raised a shit ton of VC capital, like corporate entity, and you see this and you're like, next, kind of, you like look at it and like on the surface level, it's a bunch of bullshit. Like, shit posts, a lot of cussing, a lot of like vulgar language, whatever it is. If you like look at the surface, you're like, man, what the fuck is this bullshit? But if you like really like, Tally was the first one who like really went under the surface and was like, man, there's some like method to the madness here. I'm not even sure he knows what it is, but like there's something here. And I remember them like bringing me on and officially as a director of vibes. And that was the first moment where I'm like, fuck, man, like I really like that was the first time I felt like I really had hit like a next step in crypto. And it was very eye-opening for me. Like I had, I'm still on as an advisor. I don't work full-time or day-to-day with them anymore. But I pretty much was like full-time for like a year, damn near a year. And it was a crazy experience. Like I told you, I never had a job. And so having skills and your own personal skills, but then being able to like work in a company, in a system, collaborate is like its own learning curve. And so it definitely took me a while to get up to speed there. But man, I grew a ton at Tally because it allowed me to sort of add this like professional, organized, like second part to my game. Because like you can't, for me, like I was just like 100%, like I told you some of the best times of my life. I was like 100% just like smoking weed, shit posting. Like I needed to like level up rather than be like a mascot CT degen. And Tally really allowed me to do that. But one of the things, I'll never forget this either, is I almost didn't want to take the job because one of the things that they wanted me to do was host Twitter Spaces. And I was like, dude, I hate public speaking, by the way. I hate public speaking. Even like coming on a podcast, I've been doing a podcast, is like, I'm chilling, great vibes, but you're doing a great job, by the way. But I get like a little anxious before. School presentations, hated it. So like speaking on Spaces, I'd never done it. And I was like, no fucking way are they going to, I'm not doing these Twitter Spaces. Like, no way. And I remember like it started with one sort of like an intro space. They introduced me. I came on, I said a few words, whatever. I hosted like a community space. And then basically what happened is I started hosting with Shill and Villain, co-hosting with Shill and Villain. And that was like, I mean, man, I talk about it a lot. That was like a breakthrough for me. It really was. Like, it really was a breakthrough because I had felt like too, I sort of hit this like plateau where as a content creator and like as a thought leader even, I was posting a ton on text form and Twitter, DMs, group chats, whatever, but I couldn't go on a space and like articulate my mind like on anything. I never went on spaces. And I feel like that, and not spaces themselves, but more like the fundamental point of like speaking and using your words and being articulate. I didn't realize how like important that was. And I really couldn't do it. And I was like, fuck, man, I don't like doing this, but I have to be able to do this. I have to be able to go on a space and like hold my own. So I'll never forget this. Like I remember calling Alex for the first time. I never spoken to him. I'd been in his spaces like once or twice. And this is like May, June of 2022. So this is like, he's in the process of like changing like revolutionizing really Twitter Spaces, like 2 a day, like running Solana kind of vibes, at least from my outsider perspective. And I called him and I was like, dude, like I got the ETH audience, you have the Solana audience, like start running some of these spaces. And so we like ran one, it went great. We ran two, it went great. And we turned it into like a consistent thing. And I still remember that. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but it's not a huge thing. But I remember he called me like 10 spaces in and he was working for Symbol at the time. And he was like, yo, I just want to let you know, I just got off a team meeting with Symbol and they told me that your co-host ThreadGuy is so bad on spaces. If he doesn't learn how to fucking articulate a sentence and get better, like you have to stop hosting with him. He's like, it's a bad look for the brand. You have to stop hosting with him.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, man, I'm that fucking bad. And so like I really sort of locked in on spaces, sort of speaking, how to get my thoughts concise and clear. I still can't do it. And from that point on, like we probably hosted every day for like 6 months. And so that, I think, especially like publicly in the eyes of a lot of people, was sort of like a transition from my branding, my account, from like just like shit posts and memes to sort of like the hosting side. And I found out I fucking love hosting from that. So that, I think that moment, really the Tally job, and then like my first Shill and Villain co-host Twitter space were like 2 moments that really like took me into a completely different level, but also like rabbit hole and like interest of what I want to do, you know?
That's crazy, man. It's and those Twitter Spaces back then were wild.
They were wild. I mean, it was crazy.
It was pure entertainment. Oh man, it was the crazy.
It was a time, dude. You had to be there.
You really did. You really did. It was like, I mean, I would like wake up, I'd come downstairs, like one of those spaces would be going. You know, sometimes there'd be one at night. It was like you're just constantly listening. It was just. Yeah, I mean, and I remember my first time I spoke in one of those spaces, and I didn't unmute. And so they're like, all right, we're going to throw it to Marc. And then I was like, and I'm talking, and they're like, oh, this motherfucker doesn't know how to fucking, get him out of here. And I'm like, I'm never going to speak in a Twitter space again. Never. And I'm getting texts from my friends like, oh, bro, you fumbled the shit out of that. I was like, oh, man, I am so fucked. And it took me a minute to like get the confidence back to like request up to speak at another space. And like, and I enjoy public speaking. So I can like, I've talked in front of like groups of like 400, 500 people before and like never had any issues with that. And then I've been doing podcasting for a year prior to that, but it was like, man, I got into a Twitter space and damn near shit my pants. So I was like, yeah, man, it's nerve wracking.
It is. And it's, I always say like, I got a little bit of a fast pass on spaces because one of the hardest things about spaces, I think it's a humbling experience for a lot of people, is you have a large following for your tweets, for your text content, whatever it is, but you start a Twitter space for the first time and good luck. It's sort of like you have to like get out of the mud with space. I mean, just like any content, podcast, anything, but like spaces in particular, like impressions on your tweets just like don't convert to an audience. It also doesn't convert to a good space. So it's like you have to just like host a bunch of shitty spaces until you do it. And I'll remember this. Like we hosted every day for like 6 months, and he had a massive audience when I came on, right? And so these spaces would like every space, every day at 1 Eastern would probably have close to 1,000 concurrent, at least 600, 700, 800. Again, bull market, different time, but like still, it'd be like 1,000 people concurrent every single day in that space. I just showed up. He did what he did, but I didn't. It wasn't until I like left and sort of like started hosting my own at the same time that he was hosting at 1 p.m. I was hosting at 1 p.m. And I thought like, oh, like, you know, he has 1,000 concurrent. Half of this is probably coming to me. I'll do 500 concurrent. I remember hosting my first space. There was like 10, 20 people in there, right? And it was like starting from scratch. It was like 3-4 months before I could even hit 100 concurrent. And it's like I had to like start over, but it was important because you like build the audience, but you also build the skills. Because what I learned is co-hosting and getting carried by a host and then hosting on your own are two completely different games. And you got to learn how to play the second one. So it was like a humbling sort of experience to leave the prime host as a co-host and do my own. But it was like a really important move.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It really is like finding your voice and like finding how to like, cause I even remember like doing the podcast and you know, my first few with Frank, like just ripped like crazy. And then it was like figuring out, okay, when you have a smaller project, like how do you bring excitement to that? Right. Like how do you, okay, now I got to figure out clips. Okay. Now I got to figure out captions on clips. I got to figure out all these different things. How often do I put them out? How often do I put out content about myself? Oh, okay. I get memed often. Okay. I got to lean into that. Right. It's like finding the different things and you're like,
that was alpha. People probably missed it.
Oh, dude.
People probably missed that alpha.
It's, man, the memeing shit is crazy. Like, and I realized a long time ago, you just got to lean into that. Like, you know, and I realize it's like, I find it so funny anytime I post something like, you know, I posted the other day a photo of me like playing pickleball, right? And was like, all right, you walk into a pickleball court, you see this guy, like, what are you doing, right? And all the responses are just dogging me, whatever. And it's like, and it's just so funny because it's like it's all good vibes. Everybody's just fucking around with each other and like, and you lean into that. Same thing with like the you don't know shit photo. It's like
that one's great.
I never thought that one was gonna do what it did. Like I thought. I don't know. I guess it was like 2 o'clock in the morning.
You didn't know shit?
No, yeah, I didn't know shit. I truly didn't know shit. And it's like, and that one, it like has just lived on. And then there was one of me just on the podcast, and I think I fucking like yawned or something. And like, and now that one, it looks like I'm moaning. And so every time there's like something even slightly happening, like positive about the market, like people post that one, right? So it's like you lean into the memes. But okay, so here's my question for you: how much? Because I feel like a lot of it for me has been. At first, like trying a bunch of different shit and just kind of seeing what sticks. And now I feel like I have a little bit more of like a strategy with what I'm doing, but while still at the same time being like, hey, you do have to try new shit, right? Like NFL season just started. I've been a degenerate gambler since I was like 13 years old. So I'm like, I want to start talking about that because like I love betting. I think it's super fun. And like this whole space is a gamble. So I don't really feel like there's any real difference in the two. And so I'm like, yeah, if I'm watching a game and somebody else is, it's fun to talk about it. Like I'm going to try out some of that content. Some of it is thought process being put into it. Some of it's just me slinging it. So for yourself, like, do you put thought in everything that you do, or is a lot of it just like slinging it and seeing what happens?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for me, there's always been like the North Star that I'm like going towards, that I can like vaguely see. So I'm always like going in that direction. But like short term, I very much like work in absolutes, and I'm kind of like all in or I'm all out. I'm never like 99% in, 1% out. So I kind of have like realized I follow this trajectory a little bit where I go like super deep, all into like one thing, and then just like hard stop or like hard pivot down another direction. Like still with go in the same direction towards the North Star, but like the path changes a lot. Because like the account starts, the ThreadGuy account, and it's like threads only. And it's like shit posts only. And now it's like the spaces thing. So like I'm very cognizant of the fact that it's like evolving a lot and often. And things that I don't think I'm going to like or be good at, I do like and I'm good at, which is like the spaces for me and sort of the audio side of things. So I would say that it's definitely calculated, and there's definitely a plan. There's definitely a lot. You definitely like spend a lot of time like goal setting and putting like near term, what do I want to do to sort of get towards this North Star? But I've found that everything in between, sort of just like letting myself just like go and just like, you know, the same back to December, just like smoke weed and tweet, just like see what happens. Like I work a lot better with like no lid on the jar, but like a direction. So like I know where I'm going, but like day to day is sort of just like figure it out, throw shit at the fucking wall. So I think like there's always a plan. I'm always sort of like following it. But I try not to put too much constraints on like what happens tomorrow or next month, because I found in this sort of journey that I pick shit up that I never would have thought, or like, especially the way crypto moves so fast, like you don't even know what's going to happen next month or like 3 months from now. So I found that like giving myself sort of the freedom to like swim within a constraint allows me to like, oh shit, I like spaces, or like, oh shit, I like emceeing. I've never been on stage before until the Yuga event. Never been on stage. I was terrified. I was shitting my fucking pants before going on that stage to intro Ferg like 2 weekends ago. But then I'm on stage and I'm like, yo, I haven't felt this adrenaline since like high school basketball. I love this. Right. So like, and that's something that like wasn't necessarily in like the master plan. Right. So it was like giving myself the freedom to like swim, but keeping it in a constraint channel sort of, I feel like allows me to like balance both. Especially in a space where we're picking up new stuff and things are changing. Like it allows me to feel free, and I like feeling free.
Fair. Okay, so here's one that I got to know if it's calculated or not. The mullet. Is it calculated? Like, was that?
So I'll say this on the mullet.
Yeah, walk me through. How did the mullet come to be?
So I first got the mullet in high school, like a little bit. I started growing a baby mullet because like every single fucking white kid that I knew at my high school had the same fade, dude. Everyone had the same fade. I'm like, bro, we can't, like, this is crazy. We all have the same haircut. Like, I need something different. So I started just like, it started with like a fade that just like had a V in the back. And then it was like, oh shit, like actually don't cut the back at all. Let me like grow it out. And so I grew it out. And then freshman year at college, dude, I had like basically what it is now. I had this like crazy fucking like lion's mane. Pre-Twitter though. And I was like, fuck, this thing has got gross. I had to cut it. And so I remember I cut it off. And then I started growing it again, like maybe like a year ago. And when it started to get like pretty long, like I would always do the haircut videos. And people loved the hair. Like I would do like the duck lips and shit. People would like go crazy with the haircut videos and shit. And then like I just started like growing it back out. And the mullet just like stuck, dude. I don't know. Like it's just like stuck. And then before I knew it, like I was getting recognized for the mullet. And so it like became this thing where it's like, I'm doxxed, but like, especially early people, not a lot of people knew my face, but like people would see the mullet, they would recognize me. And then every time I'd post on Twitter, get like 50,000 impressions. So I was like, fuck, man. Like I kind of have to keep it. And so I just like kept keeping it. Every event, more and more people would be like, oh, the mullet, like, oh, the mullet, oh, the mullet. Every video would be like, oh, the mullet. Like, it would get like more hyped. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, it's gotten kind of gross. I have a headset on. It's like way too long. It's like, it's gotten gross. It's knotted. Like, it's not great. But it's also like more recognizable. So it's sort of like double-edged sword. That like the more it grows, the more I hate it. But like the more people like it or meme it. So like great for content. So I was debating cutting it like a week ago, and I was like, man, it's about to be event season. Like, am I really gonna go to Basel with no mullet, bro? Are you kidding me? So I kept it. I'm fighting through. I'm doing it for y'all. I'm doing it for the content. We got to keep it going, man. At least one more cut.
100%, dude. It's when you have something content wise that's just working. It's like, man, it's so hard because it's like you can't get rid of it because it's just too damn fun.
If it ain't broke, Mark.
Right. It's the same thing of like, when the video of me talking about like season 3 went viral and there was some like negative that came along with that, right? Like I had a few people that were like, oh, are you going to like stop making like, videos like that? And I was like, no, because it's fun. Like at the end of the day, we're here on Twitter to be entertained, right? And like I don't do alpha calling shit. So like if people are making buying decisions,
I've seen your alpha calls, Mark.
They're dog shit. It's like you don't want that. It's like half the time I buy into something, it's absolutely the top signal. So it is. Even just the Lions winning yesterday, after I like talked about the Lions winning, I was like, just give me a W, please, God. And like if the Lions if they lose by like 40 tonight, this is gonna be so damn embarrassing. And then we got the W. But but you have to lean into like the content of having fun with it,
Gotcha.
right? Like I know that like I'm not some alpha caller. I know what I'm good at. It's like the over the top optimism, and then like with that, and that's how I've always been. Like I'm always the guy that's like, I don't know. I could be in a football game in high school. We could be down like 60, and I'd be like, boys, listen, if they just went up 60 on us, why can't we go 60
we
up on them?
We still got 3 timeouts.
Yeah,
like
we still got a chance. Like, and that's just how I've been. And it's like, okay, so lean into it. Like if you're good at something and people fuck with it, lean into it and like have fun with it. And at the end of the day, like, I don't know. It's like, dude, the haircut is magnificent. I mean, it's like Davy Crockett without the hat. Like it's just your hair is the hat.
I was watching. I was watching Bradley Martin's podcast the other day, and he had Rice Gum on, and one of the first things Rice Gum said to him is he was like, "Congratulations on the new meme." That Bradley Martin, where he like asks everyone, "Yo, can I take you in a street fight?" But I'm 260, bro. Tells everyone I'm 260, and everyone like memes the 260, and he was like, very seriously, like, congratulations on the new meme. And they talked about it for a little bit, and he was like, what people don't understand is like, one, how difficult it is to be part in sort of the inception of a meme that like gets virality like that. But two, like how rare it is for an original meme to be created. Because the thing about like memes is you can't like force the meme. Like you can't like force the like you don't know shit meme, or like you can't like force the haircut. You can't like the creator doesn't really decide it's a meme. It just becomes a meme. It's
right.
the internet.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, it's not something I've thought too much about. I was watching this podcast yesterday. I was like, oh, that's interesting that you said that. It's like a really good point though. It's sort of like so many things have to come together. It's like so many ingredients have to come together the right way for a meme to like be quality enough and to catch, that it's very impressive when it happens. Like the one example, as I look at Ticker Bitcoin, Harry Potter, I'm gonna fuck it up. They're gonna get mad.
Yeah.
Obama 10, Sonic Inu.
Yeah.
Like they just like created a meme, like snapped their fingers and like created those like mushed words together as a ticker, as a meme, and then like sort of like created a meta after it. There was like Solana, token, and all these other like mashed together words as tickers, and they kind of like created a fucking meme out of thin air, and that's like very hard to do. Like it doesn't happen in crypto. I mean, in crypto and NFT Twitter, like it doesn't happen that much in any social media, anywhere. Like in culture, it doesn't happen very often. Where it's like a meme that sticks and is catches that like happened organically. So like when it does happen, like something good was created there. And I mean, I fucking love the meme. You know, I love the meme.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's like it's impressive when it happens. And yeah, you get some flowers there, Mark, because you're the meme guy on Twitter, and you do a good job of leaning into it. I don't think a lot of people like realize that that's calculated. Like, of course I'm gonna push the haircut meme. Like, of course you're gonna push the you don't know shit meme, even if at the time it had some like fairly negative sentiment. Now it's like It's jokes, even though price isn't great. It's still jokes. You know what I mean?
I mean, because all you can do is like, because okay, so when that video of me goes viral, right, and it's like, and this is right after season 3, and I'm getting dunked on, right, and it was like, okay, here's the reality of it. I'm down bad just as much as they are, right? Like I didn't sell anything, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm down bad as fuck, and it's like, you start seeing people going, you don't know shit, and it's like, okay, this one's got some legs. Like this is gonna be a thing for a minute, right? And it's like, okay, so then lean into it. And so I was like, well, wasn't I right? Like I didn't know shit. You didn't know shit. None of us knew what so it's like
it's all part of the psyop.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, so lean into it, right? And so, I feel like, again, it's just like you said, it's like you can't plan a meme. I didn't go over to the house that night being like, we're gonna make this video and it's gonna get memed. It was like, no, we were at the house, we were having a conversation, 2:00 in the morning, we decided to make this, reaction video for 2 minutes. We do that, we put it out. It still doesn't get memed until a month and a half later, right?
Yes.
So it's like, that's the thing again. It's like, you can't.
That's an interesting point.
You don't control the meme.
Caught on way later.
Yeah, way later. Way later. So it's like you have no idea. And that's the thing. And we could get into that in a second, but I do have some other things I want to get into before that. Of like, you can't force like a meta to happen. You can't force a meme or whatever. You have to just like make content, do your thing, and let like nature take its course. Yeah. But if you're trying too hard, everybody can feel that too. And so you have to like find that good middle ground. And it is difficult. And there's going to be times where you try something that's like, that wasn't it. That happens. But you got to let nature take its course.
Yeah, I think you got to just be in the right place for long enough, and then the right time syncs up with it, right? Then you get a moment like that.
100%. So we got to talk about a few of your moments, okay? Because you've had a few. So you've had a few in the last year.
Let's talk about it, Mark.
Okay, so I got
for me?
I got 3 that I want to talk about.
Let's do it.
We'll go in order of actually we're not going to go in any particular order. We're going to start off with the one-on-one basketball match with you and Easy. So first off, walk me through, how did that come to be? And then, tell me a little bit for people who didn't see that, what was the result?
Yeah, that was a funny one. So I guess like a little context is I'm a huge basketball guy, huge basketball fan. I played a lot back in the day, and I've tweeted like a lot about basketball. And I always am like, I'm the best basketball like engagement farmer. I'm the best hooper in Web3. I'm the best NFT hooper, yada, yada. And like every once in a while, I'll post like a video of me. Like there was the one at DNYC outside in the core where I like ran away. Like a couple like videos I posted like did some numbers on Twitter. And so like a lot of people like sort of knew the basketball like lore with me. And there's always like everyone's got Twitter fingers. And I'm like, oh, I'll fuck you up, TG. I'll smoke you, play me. And Easy is like a real hooper. Like he plays good. He got game, like really like plays. And I knew he played. And we had been talking just like jokes back and forth, talking smack on Twitter. Like, I'm going to bust you, whatever. Pause. And the Yuga thing happened like really last minute. And I was going to Miami to do MC their event, intro ASAP Ferg, whatever it was. And Easy's in Miami. And I remember like, I think I was going on a Friday. The event was Saturday and I was there till like Monday, Tuesday. And I found out on like the Tuesday before, like that week. And I texted Easy and I was like, yo, I'm about to be in Miami. Like, let's hoop. And he's like, let's hoop. And I think he made I don't know exactly how it happened, but he made a tweet and was like, finally the game y'all been waiting for, like Easy versus ThreadGuy one-on-one. And like fast. So we had a grand on the game. If he won, I was going to buy $1,000 worth of Bodagos. If I won, he's going to buy $1,000 worth of the Thread Pepin. And so like, we tweeted it out like 3 days before the event. I wasn't in Miami yet. And fast. There was like 2 or 3 casinos put up lines. And then like there was all these side bets. So like I know like Farouk had a bet on your boy, had a lot of money on the line. Like I was just like casually getting texts like, yo, TG, are you going to win? Because I'm about to throw like $5,000 on this. And I'm like, I don't know. Board Elon, shout out to Board Elon, a fucking goat, put revealed a Pepin on the line for a winner. And then like Jack Butcher made this graphic, I can show you it, of it was like an Pepin split down the middle. Half of it was Easy, half of it was me. And it was like score 0-0. So like within like 72 hours of announcing it before the game, there was like probably 20, 30K of side bets, $1,000 between me and Easy. I know Pepin on the line, the casinos, Jack Butcher was involved. It got like pretty hyped. And so we rented out this, what's it called? I'll give him a shout out. Miami Sports Box. This little like half court is like $100 for 2 hours. We're like, bet. We got a couple people to come film, and we pulled up, and it was basically best of 5, first to win 3 games. We played to 11, or no, I think we played to 7. We played to 11, 1s and 2s. And I was nervous, dude. I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous because I talked a lot of shit before this. Not even about Easy, but just like the 2 years on crypto Twitter. I've talked a lot of basketball shit. And I was a little nervous. And Easy's like, he's a legit player. Like, I knew he had game. He's bigger than me. And so we set up the live stream, and we basically went live. I was shocked. There was a Friday night. There was probably, between the YouTube and the Twitter, there was probably like 500 to 600 concurrent across both. I was like, man, there's a bull market Twitter space, right? You're watching us fucking play one-on-one. 2 NFT idiots play one-on-one, right? And we played 3 games. It was a good series. It was a clean sweep. I won. Respectable win though. Like, I was playing out damn near 100%. So was he. It was like real bump. And I got some Art Basel plans. We're talking about cooking something up at Art Basel. Maybe by the time this drops, we'll have some information on that. Rematch definitely is coming, but it was a game, bro. It was a fucking fun game. But I was really hyped because I was like, man, there's 500-600 people in this live. Like, 1, people are still on crypto Twitter, NFT Twitter, and 2, like, people just want content. Like, that shit had like nothing to do with fucking NFTs. It had nothing to do with crypto. Like, yeah, we're like crypto figures, but it was like, I was kind of shocked at the response. And I remember too, a couple people that like ran the facility were like, because we had like 20 people come watch as well. They were like, what the fuck is going on? And someone was explaining to them that there was like bets on the line, and we're like crypto, spaces host, whatever. And they were like mind blown that people were like betting money on this one-on-one game. Like, they were mind blown. Couldn't fucking process it. So that was fucking sick. And stay tuned, but Art Basel, we're probably going to up the ante, talking a little event maybe. Definitely a rematch is going to happen because, look, people want the basketball. So we're going to see what comes in Art Basel, but it was a fucking weekend in Miami, bro.
Well, we got some people in this Web3 space that all claim to be ballers. So
shout out to Sonny.
Yeah, so shout out to Sonny. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to power rank. I'm gonna list 8 Web3 basketball players, and you got to power rank them. Okay, so here's what we got. We got you. We got Easy. We got Sonny Mons. We got Frank D Gods. We got Amy Street. We got Mo Hayek. We got Menace, and we got Min. So I need you to power rank. Let's start off at 8. We'll work our way up.
You know what you're doing to me right now.
I know.
You know it's going to get clipped, right?
100%.
You know this is going to get clipped, right?
These are one of those things that you have thought out ahead of time.
You know this is going to get clipped.
All right, so give me the worst one. Who's the worst Web3 basketball player?
The only IRL PFP. Mo, I love you, but sorry, buddy. Sorry, buddy.
Okay, so we got Mo at 8. Who do we got at 7?
D-God flipped Azuki, so it's only right. My boy Min, 7. I'm sorry, man. Shout out to Min, though. Shout out to the
Min.
boy.
So, shout out to Min. Okay,
right.
So we got Mo at 8. We got Min at 7. Who do we got at 6?
Left, I got Frank, Easy, Amy,
Menace,
and Sonny.
Yep.
Man, my mutant brother, I love him, but Menace to Society, 6.
Menace to Society.
Force him right, bro. It's raps.
All right, Menace number 6. Who do we got at 5?
You know what you're doing to me, right?
I know.
You know what you're doing to me, right?
Better you than me. That's the benefit of being the host.
Let's go Amy Street at 5.
Okay.
I would probably rather guard her than Easy, but I'm taking Mo over Amy any day. I don't want to see Amy guarding me on D. No way.
No.
We'll go Amy Street at 5.
Amy's lethal.
I don't want her strapping me up. We'll see.
Who we got at 4? It's getting tough. And you're in here too, so you got to power rank yourself.
Oh, you know where that's going. Left, I got Frank. I got
Easy, Sonny, and you.
Easy, Sonny, and me. We got to go Easy. I mean, he shout out to Easy, but he took an out. Easy's got to go Easy.
Easy too easy?
You got to go Easy too easy. That was your word, not mine. You don't know shit. Easy too easy. I'm going to start saying that. I think we got to go Easy, And then I think we got to go the boy. Here's what I'll say. You know who's number one? I'm going number one, of course.
Okay.
So it puts 2 and 3 left. And there's one thing I've learned in crypto and NFTs over the past 2 years. There's a couple non-negotiables, a couple things you don't do. And one of those things, Mark, that you do not do in NFTs is you do not fade Frank DeGods, bro.
But when you do, he also usually comes up crazy. So.
Sonny at 3, Frank DeGods at 2, baby. You already know the Zoomer energy.
I mean, the way I'm hearing that, you're still fading Frank because you're putting him at 2. So that means Frank's got to work on the jumper. He's about to rug D-Gods and just focus on the jumper for the rest of the time. Okay. So one last power ranking I need you to do then, okay? So we're going to take the greatest of all time. Let's go LeBron, Michael Jordan, Kobe, and you. What's the top 4?
You already know what now I'm saying. I'm a huge Kobe guy, but I'm just going to be honest. LeBron, Kobe, Jordan. I'm sorry. Don't at me. Don't fucking at me. Kobe 2, LeBron 1. Jordan, love you, buddy, but you're 3.
Okay. No one's going to... No, that's not going to piss off anybody. So...
And just to be nice, I'll put myself at 4.
There we go. Respectable. But you know you're probably number 1. Yeah.
Don't tell him, though.
Yeah, we won't tell him. Okay. So next we got to get into the ApeCoin DAO. So walk me through that. What was the goal with that? How did that play out? How did all that come to be?
I never really did like a post-mortem on the ApeCoin DAO either. That was an interesting one, man. Let's see. I'm trying to think like what I can say, what I can't. I think I'll say this. I wanted to be involved in the Yuga ecosystem for a while. Like I wanted some involvement with what they're doing over at the DAO, what they're doing separately at Yuga. Like I wanted some ape involvement. And the special counsel role it hit my radar probably 3 months before. And I mean, it's a crazy position in the bear market. I mean, it's guaranteed position for a year on the fucking ApeCoin DAO special counsel, you and 5 people, and like arguably the most powerful, influential DAO in the space. And they pay a real deal salary. And I looked at that and I'm like, man, I think the DAO has like so much potential, but nobody gives a fuck about it, right? Nobody cares about the DAO. It gets no attention. It's never getting talked about. You never really hear any like proposals that come through that anyone cares about. Like it really got no love whatsoever. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, is the role like, yes, what the special counsel sort of does and what I was advised that it does is a lot of compliancy work and a lot of stuff in the background, making sure, they follow the legalities and the DAO is like legally safe. But it also has like a ton of stuff open for interpretation, heavy NDAs. We don't know a ton about what the council does. And a huge part of it was like spreading the vision of the ApeCoin DAO, carrying out the vision of the community. I'm like, I can do this. And I saw this position open and I submitted my application for it and basically like did nothing until the day before voting started. And the reason I didn't do anything is because I knew that my strategy, if I were to run, was going to be like just put it on the table and make noise on Twitter. But I also knew, like, 1, this is like a prestigious position I'm running for. And 2, there are very qualified candidates also running against me. So if I'm going to do this, I need to be like 110% sure I want this job. And if I get it, I'm going to do it and do it well. And I wasn't really sure. I wasn't going to run. I had submitted my application. It was 3 days before. And I'm like, man, I'm not running. And then I kind of like really took a step back, thought about it. And I was like, man, I can have a real impact on this shit. Like I need to be involved. And so I sat down, I wrote a thread. And the day before I posted it, the infamous, I'm the only ape that can save the ApeCoin DAO was the thread. And I expected it to do well, but it like really did well. And it was like loud. It was sort of like Trump playbook, like loud, putting my balls on the table. Like, you guys are failing in X, Y, and Z, and I can come bring X, Y, Z, A, B, and C. And basically let the people decide. So I put that thread out, and basically the way the voting worked is there was 2 rounds. There was probably like a week for the first round, 5 candidates advanced, and then there was like a second week where the final 2 would advance. And I crushed the first round. I really did. So one of my problems, not to monologue too long about the ApeCoin DAO, one of my problems was I didn't really put my hat in the ring until 2 days before. So while most of these people had been like lobbying in the background, phone calls with whales, pitching their shit, like really doing the lobbying thing, I didn't do any of it. So we're like live. And when we went live, I remember like a couple candidates just getting like 500,000 ApeCoin votes off the rip. And I'm like, fuck, man, I got nothing here. So it was honestly one of the best 2 weeks of my life. It was like from the second that thread hit, voting was open the next day and we just like hit the ground. So I'm on fucking Etherscan all week, just like putting together, searching wallets. Who's got ApeCoin? Because it doesn't like directly tell you. Got to figure it out. Maybe they have an ENS, maybe they have a Twitter connected, maybe they have their name. So I just like for a week I was in a sprint of just like find every fucking wallet that has ApeCoin that hasn't voted and like go get their vote. So it was like, man, it was a crazy week of and shout out to Leap, who was really like my campaign manager. Finding these fucking wallets, figuring out who they are, matching them, and then phone calls. And it was a crazy week. I finished second in voting in the first round. And so I'm like, man, I'm in. Like I have a real chance at this thing. And round 2 came and I got fucking murdered, dude. I got absolutely obliterated in round 2. I mean, just like obliterated in round 2. And I don't know how deep you want to go ApeCoin. I have a lot of thoughts on it. I would say the short, like, so for one, I think one thing that happened is I think I hit a wall a little bit. Like I had to, in the process, so I think like the day the first round ended, the second round opened, I had a family vacation we do every year in the Outer Banks. And I didn't get to go last year because of NFT NYC. And, you know, the family's older, the cousins are older, people are getting old, less people are able to come. My parents were basically like, look, no sweat. We know you got this campaign going on, but like, if you don't come to this vacation, like it's probably done. Like it's not happening anymore. So I'm like, fuck, man, I gotta go. And so I told Leap, I'm like, I was living with Leap, and I'm like, yo, dude, I love you. You've been helping me out a lot. Like, yada, yada. I need you to come with me to fucking Outer Banks. Like, we got to fly across. I need you to do that. Like, we have to win. I need you. And bless his soul, he's like, fuck it, I'm in. And so he bought some plane tickets. He has one of the he spent like 36 hours in the airport. It was insane. It was nuts, dude. 6 flight delay. It was crazy. And I lost. Hint. But we flew to North Carolina, and then basically back half of campaign season in the Outer Banks. I feel like for one thing that happened is I definitely hit a little bit of a wall. And it was just, man, it was like 2 weeks of being on 24/7, multiple debates a day. Like it really sort of wore on me. But man, the second thing that happened, and one thing I realized is that the structure of a lot of these DAOs are just like not ideal. And especially with ApeCoin, it's a whales game. And if we're being real about it, there's probably 40 to 50-ish wallets that have enough votes to make a difference. Nobody else combined can even make a scratch at it. So what it really comes down to is who out of the candidates, the 5 remaining, can get the most of those 50 wallets to vote for them. And the first round is much more like, oh, cool, fuck it, I'll vote for you, whatever. But one of the differences between the first and the second round is you can split your votes in the first round. So like third party could vote half for Marc, half for me. Second round, it's like you got to pick one candidate. So the second round very much becomes this game of like, yeah, I got 5 mil in ApeCoin. I'll vote for you, but what will you do for me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
the politics coming to
politics.
play. Yeah.
It's my first run at politics, my first run at lobbying. So maybe, naive me should have known better. But that's what came. And it sort of becomes this thing where it's like, how bad do you want the role? How bad do you want? And I'm only speaking from personal experiences. I'm not speaking any. I think for the record, 2 very qualified and candidates I really respect, Captain Trippy and Wabam, got in. Had conversations with both of them since. Huge fans of both. They deserved it. But it very much became this thing of like, where do you draw your line? Will you do this? Will you do this? Will you talk about this coin? Will you work for this project? Like, what will you do for these votes? And I think for me, like very early on in the second round, there was a couple things I wasn't willing to do. Lost the votes. And then like, man, by like day 2, it became this thing where it's like I was so far behind that the people that like the in-betweeners, I lost them. And so I ended up in 5th place. I got racked in the second round. But I will say this, and I'll wrap here, is I think it's one of the more important experiences I've ever been through, because it was, I had to grow up in 2 weeks, and I also had to experience the debate circuit. And if I could go back, I would do a lot of things differently. But I had never really done like formal debates. 1, 2, for as much as I host spaces, I don't really speak in the sense that I'm like a speaker on the stage giving takes, that I'm like a guest on a podcast. I don't do very many podcasts. Like, I don't like speak. I host a lot, but I don't like speak a lot. And the debates I was very stressed. And I think my approach was wrong. Looking back, I would have done it completely differently, because the approach, it was like Trump playbook. Like, I'm here, I'm loud, and you're going to have to just fucking deal with me. My debates were much more like trying to make sure I said everything right and didn't like piss anyone off, which is completely contradicting to how I got here, which was pissing people off. And so I think in the debates, I was very much like button up, on my best behavior, trying to like answer the question and like get my technicalities right. I was worried I was going to get stumped on a DAO technicality question too, I think, a lot. So I was like being very particular in my questions. And it wasn't until like the Wednesday or Thursday, it expired on Friday, that I knew I was out, where I like went on these debates and just started like fucking firing, man. Just like speaking freely, speaking how I normally speak. And it was a game changer. I mean, I crushed them. And I think going through that experience of the debates was like important. I know it will be important down the line. I think the whole DAO process, while I was like very frustrated and like had some choice words for some people and some like rants on spaces that were like maybe a little much, it was like really an important experience. Like, I grew from the DAO, the whole campaign, the whole lobbying side, the debates especially. I needed the debates. So while like I was frustrated, I look back on the DAO as like a positive experience, because I needed it, bro. I needed it to go and up against some candidates I felt like almost insecure around. Felt like I was under, because I mean, that was a huge thing, is like all these people are listing their like PhD in this, bachelor's in this, 10 years in political science here, yada yada, and my shit is like, college dropout director of vibes. And so I think that played a role in me on like debate 1, debate 2 being so like in my shadow, in my shell. But when I was out statistically, and it finally clicked that like, yo, you got here by being fucking fiery and not taking no and not taking shit from anyone, and you stopped at the same time that you sort of fell out of the ranks. It's only when you got back to that you did better. So I think that was like an important understanding for me to realize. And I think I chalked the DAO whole campaign, whole process up as a W. Like it just objectively was a win, even if I took an L on paper.
100%. And you know what you got? You got time, because 14 years from now you can run for president of the United States. So you got a little time. You got a little time. Sir, you got a little ways till 35, right? But no, dude, that's epic. It's cool to hear the background of all of that, and like it's cool to watch those things play out in real time, and then also be able to hear the behind the scenes of heading out to Outer Banks and doing all that. And hey, I'm glad you got to spend that time with your family, because at the end of the day, all of this crypto shit and everything and NFTs and everything is all amazing. But dude, there's nothing that can beat family time. So
it was important. You know what it fucking became is I probably played a role in me being burnt out, because it's my 10 family members, extended family, whomever, and Leap and I, and dinner conversations are like, yo, how many votes does Swicky have? Like, yo, did you see Journey Crypto just gave Captain Trippy 2 million votes? Like, what is that about? Like, yo, how'd the phone call go? Like, it turned into a full, I mean, it's awesome. Shout out to my whole family. They're so invested in this shit as well. It turned into like a whole family of campaign managers, but I definitely hit a little bit of a wall, man.
Yeah, dude, it's funny when the family gets involved in stuff
they
like
love
this.
it.
Every once in a while, my mom will be on Twitter and she'll be like, hey, so what did this mean? And I'm like, oh no, we gotta just, you can't have you on Twitter seeing some of this
stuff. So I'll
stuff.
say this is for better or for worse, my mom probably listens to more spaces than I do, because she listened to basically every Twitter space that I do, and then like,
damn, shout out to mom.
Shout
That's
out to
awesome.
moms, yeah. And then she listens to like other ones as well. Like, she 100% knows the "you don't know shit" meme. Like, she's like in it, and she'll like text me like out of the blue, like, yo, did you hear what so and so just said on the space? And I'm like, no, like, what are you talking about? I didn't listen to the fucking space. Like, it's crazy. They're so deep in it. So bless her heart. Shout out to mom and dad.
I love that. Okay, so here's where I want to go from here. I want to get into we got to get into O'Peppin, right?
Let's get into O'Peppin, baby.
So tell me about, how did all of that come to be? What was your relationship like with Jack Butcher before all of this? There was the $100,000 PFP offer. So get into all of this sort of stuff. Cool. Break it all down.
So I'll give you some context. I'm a huge Jack Butcher fan. I think the first like video podcast stream I did was with Jack Butcher. Probably like 6 months ago, almost on Kick. We recorded it. It was funny. And I remember just like being so nervous for it. Cause Jack is, I mean, I look at him as like an icon in the sense of like, almost like a role model, I would say. I look at him and I'm like, the way that he articulates, the way that he thinks through complex problems and expresses, his explanation of systems is like, I want to be that. So I've always like looked at Jack in that sense. I found him through NFTs. I found him through checks and all of that hype. And I think we've had like mutual respect for each other for a while, which is pretty cool. He came on the pod. He came on a bunch of spaces, whatever it is. And so I'm an O'Peppin holder. I'm a checks holder. So I've like had a surface level relationship with Jack for a while. Got to meet him at the NFT Now event in New York prior to all of this. So I've like known Jack like fairly well. The PFP sort of like TLDR, how it came to be, is I was on a Twitter space, just like a normal space, like I normally do. It was actually right after the DAO thing had fell through. And I remember like I was like particularly bearish, particularly like doomer, kind of like sad, down a little bit. And Bored Elon, shout out to fucking Bored Elon, the GOAT, texted me or sent me a DM and he's like, yo, I will, out of the blue, I'll offer you my Series 1 O'Peppin for your mutant. It's like out of the blue. He later told me he sent the offer because I was like down and he wanted to like give me a little boost. And I think for context, mutant floor was like, I don't know, 7. And the O'Peppin Series 1 floor was like maybe closer to 15, 20, illiquid though, not a lot of sales. And I tweeted it out. And I was basically like, yo, Bored Elon offers, basically 15 ETH for 7 ETH mutant, yada, yada. Not really expecting much. And it like went viral. Probably had like 400,000 or 500,000 impressions. Like it like banged out of nowhere. And I was like, what? And so like, of course we're going to farm it the next day. That's going to be the topic, of course. So I come on Spaces. It was probably like, I think it was like a Tuesday. It was a Tuesday. And he said the offer expired on Friday at noon. So Wednesday comes and we're on it, talking about it on Spaces, whatever it is. Bored Elon makes a tweet and he basically like quote tweets my tweet. And he's like, not only will I do the trade, but I'll send him the mutant back after 12 months. So it was like free, essentially. And that went like really viral. And I was like, holy shit. Because at first it was kind of like, I'm not going to trade the mutant. And I was like, whoa, okay, literally free money. Are you an idiot? Right? Literally free money. And so that happened. It has started to like really get some steam. So I'm farming it hard on Twitter, getting the impressions, And so it was the Thursday space the next day that Frank D. Gods comes on. And here's the thing. There's still like a ton of hype around it at this point, but there isn't like any like real offers on it. The only real offer is the Bored Elon thing, the O'Peppin. So Frank D. Gods comes on and he's like, I'll offer you a D God and a U, which I think was like 8 ETH to the mutant 7. So like I tweeted it like another 200,000 impressions. So like people are like running this shit up. And then there was Luca came on stage, and this is what really made it go crazy. It was Thursday. The offer expired the next day. So I had like 12 hours. And Luca basically says, yo, I'll give you $100,000 in royalties, guarantee 10% royalty in perpetuity to $100,000 if you switch your PFP to a fishing rock, live on Spaces. And it was like, whoa, that's when it was like really, I tweeted that out. Of course it went crazy, but that was an insane offer, right? I mean, $100,000 guaranteed, royalties on the Pudgy toys, which I mean, we just saw I think we saw they're due for like 10 mil in toy revenue in the last 6 months. Crazy. They're killing it with the toys. Amazing. Yeah. Toys have all this hype. And I'm on stage now, like, holy shit. And so basically what happened, and then there was another, like, some peer lending platform offered 42 ETH. They're trolling, though. Offered 42 ETH. Kind of went viral. They were trolling, though. So Luca was the only, like, real offer. And I'm going to be honest, like, I thought that I was going to do a deal with them. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I thought I was going to do a deal with them. And it basically came to Friday, and I didn't really have like a climatic ending to this thing because like everyone's expecting me to accept the offer from board. And he had said, yo, if you want to accept Luca's deal, I will still do the trade as long as you wear the OPEPin for 3 months. And so I basically on Friday, I called him, free money. I called him on Friday, 10 minutes before the space at noon. And I basically was like, look, the way I dreaded this phone call, I was dreading it. But I basically was like, look, dude, one, thank you. Because mind you, to this point, in a week, it was pretty viral. Like everyone on MT Twitter was talking about like me changing my profile picture. I mean, who the fuck cares, right? But it got a lot of attention. I was like, thank you for this moment. You sent me a trade. You didn't have to send it. You let me tweet it. You didn't have to let me tweet it if you didn't want other offers. Like, thank you for the moment. It was a win-win. I got publicity. You got publicity, but I can't accept the offer. And basically my thought process was like, I'm going to take something else, probably. And I can't in good faith, like give the man the short end of the stick who just like brought me this moment, right? I basically was like, dude, I got to decline it. And I went on Spaces. It was kind of like a very like anti-climatic ending. I declined it. We talked about whatever. And then I kind of thought it was over. And I was, either going to like, one of these deals was going to work out or it wasn't. But it was a win-win. I mean, it was a massive, on that Friday at noon, it was a massive win. Like we all got bigger. We all won. It was a fun moment. No one got hurt, only positives. And I kind of thought it was over. Maybe I make a deal with Pudgy or someone else. Maybe I don't. And that's that. And basically, so space ended. It's 2 p.m. PST. At like 6, Jack Butcher, out of nowhere, just like tweets out the ThreadGuy OPEPin. Just like an image of it. And again, at this point, I'm an OPEPin holder. I'm a huge Jack Butcher fan. And I saw it. And I mean, I lost it when I saw that. I was like, no fucking way. Like it started doing numbers. Like no way Jack made it honorary. Like this is sick. And shout out to Marc, an OPEPin holder, changed the PFP to it. And 5 minutes later, Jack changed his PFP to it, to the ThreadGuy honorary. And I remember it was like 6 p.m. I'm on the chair in the old West Hollywood house. And my first thought is like, oh my God, what the fuck? Wow. My second thought is like, what do I do now? What do I do now? Because it's like, all right, one, I do nothing, just like thank him, acknowledge it, whatever. But I don't do nothing as in I don't change PFPs. And I probably get this other deal. Probably goes through. But I'm a dick, right? Like I'm an asshole. Right when Jack changed it, everyone on Twitter is changing it. All the OPEPin holders, board Elon, like everyone who like holds an OPEPin as part of this community is like changing PFPs, except for me. So like by that nighttime, I'm like, I'm either an asshole, like protect my money and don't switch it, go get my deal, sort of neglect the community, or I just say, fuck the deal and show the love back. And I basically, like knowing that if I do this, I probably lose interest in the other stuff. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I was just like, you know what? I texted Jack that night and was like, just want to give you a heads up. I'm going to change PFPs tomorrow. I had no expectation of like how long or anything. I'm just like, just want to let you know in case you're going to switch it back. Like I'm going to do it tomorrow. Like, thank you for this. Because I mean, again, if it stopped right there, it was like a crazy moment on Twitter. Like one of the craziest things I've been through. And I don't really know if I had a plan. How long I was going to do it. But I was just like, you know what? I'm like for the culture, bro. I'm switching it. Like all these people are coming out, supporting me. Market's down bad. Vibes are down bad. We only got here because board gave me an offer because I was down bad. Like let's be a part of the fun. And so I remember I had texted Jack. I want to let you know I'm changing. And I also asked him for the badge, the VV badge, because I didn't want to lose Twitter Blue. So I remember I woke up in the morning like mad early, like before the alarm, like almost felt like kid on Christmas, dude. Like so excited to change the PFP, and just because I knew it was gonna go crazy. And so I real quick forgot about the badge, changed my PFP, posted it, and it was like I like just posted it, and he DM'd me and was like, and sent me the badge and was like, yo, let me know when you accept it. Like I want to make a tweet. That's the only reason I remember it. And I like completely forgot about it, and I was on like a walk. So I come back inside, I missed the text. 10 minutes had gone by, and I like clicked his profile. And he didn't even wait. He was like, I want to make a tweet. Let me know when you accept the badge. Took the walk, came back. Didn't even wait for me to accept. Tweeted it. And this first tweet on his profile, I look, and it's like, it was like open edition, OPEPin thread edition, like for provenance purposes only, $2, like all proceeds to TG, like infinite edition. And dude, I mean, bro, like that was, there's some shit where it was like, just came in from the walk, saw it, put my phone down, like took a lap and came back to just like what the fuck just happened. And that, I mean, that's one of the most surreal, like if I could capture that like 10 minutes, like feeling in a bottle, I don't even know, it's priceless. Like it was one of the most insane feelings ever. But I still like remember though, my second thought after like getting over what this is was like, fuck, I have a floor price now. Like it was actually dread. My second thought was like dread. Like I have a floor price. Like, damn, this is insane, but like I'm gonna get fudded. And then I click on the mint, infinite edition, mint never closes, therefore floor price can never go down. And I was like, this motherfucker Jack Butcher is playing chess, not checkers. Like he knew he wasn't gonna dump some crap onto me that was gonna burden me. He actually gave me like literal beautiful lightning in a bottle. He did not have to do for no reason whatsoever other than the fact that mutual respect, supporting a community member, like whatever it is. Seriously, like one of the most, and that's the most incredible moment I've ever experienced in Web3. I don't want to like monologue too long. I'm sure you have some questions on it, but that was like, man, it's hard for me to even articulate what that moment was like, especially given like my relationship to Jack and the way that he's someone that I like really look up to. And that felt like it was a moment for one of the first times, it was a moment of like mutual respect, like game recognizes game between someone I put on a pedestal. And so like, that was a really cool, like realization for me where it's like, damn, I think of Jack like this, but you know, he kind of thinks of me like this as well, like head to head, which was like a really cool realization for me.
Bro, I mean, dude, it's cool to hear that because it's like, that was surreal, like watching that on the timeline. And it's pretty rare that you find like unanimously everybody supporting something that was happening and like somebody catching a W like for no real apparent reason, right? But it was like everybody was like, this is so fucking cool to watch. And everybody, and you're seeing Beeple makes his piece. It was like everything was just going nuclear. It was like, you know, everybody's changing. It was so cool to watch. And it's stuff like that. We're in the middle of a bear market. Vibes are down bad like a motherfucker, and everybody's rallying together to support you in this open edition and everything like that. Dude, it was just so cool to watch. It was so
Man,
cool.
It was euphoric, and I think it was, I mean, you said it. Like one of the things that was so beautiful about it, one is the timing. Like I think I desperately needed it, and based off the response, I know I'm not alone in desperately needing a positive moment to rally behind like that. But second, it was sort of like one of the first times I've experienced in this space where the current thing is accessible to essentially everyone at $2. And even if you didn't mint, you still probably put your PFP through the OPEPin generator for free and posted your JPEG because it was like the thing to do. So it was like, I've never seen that outside of like maybe a shitcoin where you can like buy $10 of Pepe and like be in. Usually with NFTs, it's like, you know, the D-Gods have a hype drop. It's the current thing. Everyone's talking about D-Gods, but like to actually participate, you need like 10 grand, right? You need 20 grand. And with this, it was sort of like a different thing. The barriers to access were just destroyed. And then the financial incentive was also destroyed. Like, yes, there was the actual Pep and JPEGs people were speculating on that went up. But I would say like the most part of that was the Thread edition, which is $2, and then people just making their own either artwork derivative or like throwing their PFP in the generator and getting their color scheme. And it was free. And that was like a moment for like a whole week, man, of people like rallying behind something that they weren't making money on. They really weren't making money on, but it's also like no one was losing. And it felt like, especially because it was kind of on the tail end of like the Ban ETH shitcoin saga and the Poly saga, like a bunch of just like things that kind of just like, kind of like ick you, that I felt like people really needed it. And I mean, the ultimate stamp is like, for any movement, I think is Beeple. And the thing I thought was it's just like fascinating about Beeple is if you really take a step back, the reality is Beeple does not care at all that I changed my PFP. It's insignificant. It would never hit his radar. But the fact that I changed my PFP and then there was like this cultural movement really sparked by Jack Butcher and Bored Elon that got enough attention from the community to hit Beeple's radar and be like, oh, this matters enough for me to like immortalize it. I'm going to make not just 3 Opepin pieces is like insane. I mean, that's like the ultimate stamp really for NFT culture. I mean, that's like the stamp. I remember when he did the D-Gods piece, like it's like surreal to see that, especially something you're part of. And that to me was like the ultimate just like bow on the top, that like this impact was real.
Dude, and it's so important to take times like that and just take a step back and realize like how powerful that is, and also how much you deserve it. Like it's not like none of this was deserved. You deserve all of this. Like it's so important to like remind ourselves from time to time the role we play in this ecosystem, and not on a cocky way, but just more to let like yourself know that you're not doing this for no reason, right? There's a lot of people every day that look forward to your energy coming into a space. And when people are down bad, that's the only thing you got. So you need that. You need that thing that says to you, I shouldn't feel stupid for still being here, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think there's been a lot of times that a lot of people in the last year or so have said to themselves like, why the fuck didn't I sell at the top this point? Like I could have had this. I could have paid off my house. I could have, got rid of my credit card debt or my, yeah. And so they're sitting here and they're like, why the fuck am I still here? Right. And so every day when you bring that excitement to the space and you make that person feel like, hey, you know what? It's not done. We still have a ways to go. Yes, we've had a setback in the last 2 years, but the next next bull market's going to fucking hit different. And it's reminding yourself that you play a role in getting people to that point, right? Yeah. Because if it's not for people like yourself, if it's not for people like Leap, if it's not for people that are making content every day, for people who are sending the fucking GMs, the people who are replying to content, the people who are doing this and doing that, if it's not for all those people, we don't get to that point.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, it's kind of like a dots connected moment to me, and I haven't really made this connection until I'm thinking about it right now. But as you were saying, a lot of people are frustrated, they're salty, they have resentment that they bought these JPEGs, they're down. I remember like when I sort of came up on Twitter, it was, August 21 is like the craziest month of NFTs ever, really, volume wise. And that whole like following year was nuts. And I remember like, man, I didn't have a lot of capital and things like that, but I spent all day tweeting about what was happening, not participating in what was happening. And there was like a sacrifice to it, because it was like, some crazy news comes out and everyone's trading on it. And I'm like, cool, you're going to have the best trade on it, but I'm going to have like the best viral post about it. And it was sort of like a trade-off. Like, do I want to make money or do I want to like grow this platform? And I picked growing the platform. If I could go back 100 times, I wouldn't change a damn thing. But there was like part of me in, early bear where I'm like, I got all these Twitter followers now, but I can't pay rent. You know what I mean? Like I can't move out of the basement. Like, was that worth it? Did that make sense? But then like fast forward, all this time, some random event from a random trade offer that you never could have expected in a million years leads to this open edition, which leads to like basically my community that I feel like I've catered to and given value to for all this time in the back without really expecting anything directly from it. Obviously there's so much upside to having a platform, but like direct value, not expecting it back. And you sort of like the dots connect in a moment, like Jack Butcher launching an open edition. And like, it was really like surreal. It still is. I still even like look back on a lot of these tweets. Like I've bookmarked a ton of them, just like all of these sort of people coming out of the woodwork that I've in some way at some point in some time in the last 2 years like made an impact on, or like touched in some way, even just the tiniest bit enough to be like, yo, we're going to support you. Like I want to support you on this. And like the sum of all of those like little moments, we talked about at the beginning of the pod, following someone with 100 followers, right? Like the sum of like all of those like little moments that like mean nothing to you in the position, but mean everything to the person on the other side. Sort of like the combination of all of them together feels like it like manifested itself in this like thread edition Opepin like moment over the span of like a week. And it was like, bro, it was beautiful. And I know like I was the direct beneficiary, so I have a little bit of a different, biased perspective than anyone else. Like, of course it was beautiful to me, but like, it was beautiful, dude. That was a very much like a reconfirm my thesis for like why I'm here, why I fucking dropped out of college, like why I'm so bullish on this space is for like that exactly.
Dude, it was truly a beautiful moment for everybody involved. Not just for you, for everybody. Like it was just fun seeing everybody coming together. And again, man, it's like, dude, you're 21 years old and you've made such an impact, and like it's Dude, that's something you got to just remind yourself of, on the hard days, right? Because like we're all human. We have those hard days, and we have those days where you're wondering if you're making the right choices and everything like that. And you have hard days where you ask yourself, when the fuck is this bear market actually going to end and stuff like that. But it's like reminding yourself of the impact that you've made, because you can't tell the story of NFTs and not talk about you. It's like, that's a crazy thing to be able to say, but that's like, but that's facts, right? And it's like, and there are other people like that. Like, we can't tell the story of NFTs without talking about Frank or Luca or Bored Ape or all the big whales in the space, or all the different people who have done different things for charity groups and things like that. All the different one-of-one artists that are out there that are killing it every single day. All the, like, we can't tell the story of without like the reporters who are writing articles on some of this stuff. It's like everybody plays a role in this, and it's like, it's that thing of like, it's powerful, because there's very few times in life where I feel like you truly have impact, but like, this is something where we actually have the impact to make sure that this space survives and thrives and grows and fucking learns. And it feels like you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast when we were talking about just bear markets in general, but it's like, all the grifting bullshit's gone. You can't just like buy an NFT and triple it in a day. Like, you can't just, launch a project and make a few million in rug. Like, you can't do anything like that. So all the grifters, all the ruggers, everything like that, they're all gone. So now we've got a bunch of people who are here because they truly fucking love it, right? And it's like, and again, it's like, all of these people are going to determine how this space moves, how we proceed forward. When we do talk about onboarding people, these are the people who are going to fucking do it, And
it kind of comes back to what we talked about it like early in the pod about like being able to cut through in the bear. And I think, you kind of just said it a couple of times, but it's like, if you're here right now, you can not only like be a core participant, but you can like literally shape this shit. Like, you can literally like mold this space into the direction that you want it to go, because that's how few people there are, if you really think about it, especially on the social Twitter side, on the builder side, on the dev side, whatever. Like, you can really like morph this thing into the direction that you feel like it should go, because you can cut through. Your voice is like really heard now, if ever. And if you can grow an audience in this market, like, you're doing something right. You know what I mean?
100%. So, bro, here's where I want to wrap it up, because I think this is fucking beautiful. I want to know from your end, I know you've got a new podcast that you're launching and everything like that. So talk to me about that, but then also talk to me a year from now. Give me some of your business goals, personal goals, things like that. Give me the plan.
I think I did just start a podcast. I just posted the first episode with Jeff Staple. Honestly, you're some inspiration for it, for sure. Like, absolutely. You've been killing it for a long time with the pod. And I think one of the takeaways from you, and something, I learned this from space, I learned this from Twitter or crypto, whatever, is you can't, a lot of things you can replace, but you can't replace the consistency aspect. And I think I respect you a lot for that, because it can't, like, I know, could basically do the same thing, that is not easy to stay consistent, especially when the niche is crypto and like crypto content, because bull market does better, bear market does worse. The lower we go, the worse it does, generally speaking. It's not easy. Mad respect. I think the point of the pod is maybe like a double angle. Is one, for a while I felt that I just miss a lot of content by not being on video. And I want to be on video. I feel like I should be on video, and I'm on video a lot, but I don't really like optimize it for my content. And I feel like that is a transition, because like everything I post IRL does well. Like, the haircut thing like becomes a meme, people love it. Like, basketball and turns into one-on-one with Easy, becomes a meme, becomes a thing like people love. Even like the pants at VCon, the highlighter pants and shit, like, becomes a thing, people like it. So I'm like, the audience is like obviously telling me like, yo, get on video, but I just haven't done it. And I think that's like one transition that is just, it's essential. And we didn't even really talk about spaces that much. I'm giga bullish on spaces, but the duality to do both is important. So I think like one of the half of the picture with the pod is like, get on video, get comfortable in person, face to face. It's just like a different level of connection. I think the second is, branching out. Like, this is the way I think about it, is crypto and NFTs are sort of like my core, they're my start, and they're my edge. And I feel very strongly that crypto and NFTs will forever be my edge. and when crypto is cool again and NFTs are cool again, the fact that it is my edge will be like very beneficial. But just because it's your edge, I don't think means it needs to be everything. And for me, I mean, it is like literally everything, like portfolio, finances, like social, like real capital, social cap, like it's everything. Friend net, like everything is from this place. And I wouldn't change any of it. But at the same time, I feel like I've gotten to a spot where I can now, like for almost 2 years for me, it was just grow as big as possible on crypto Twitter as fast as possible and just like figure it out as you go. Like just like grow and just like figure out later. Money later, friends, like all that will come later. And now I think I've like gotten to a point a little bit where it's like the first step of later. And I have an audience in like garnered a platform large enough where I can reach outside of crypto, especially on Twitter. Like I have access to people now I did not have access to before that have audiences that aren't in crypto really, or that have a foot in crypto but aren't. Jeff Staple, I think, is a perfect example. Is he has a project, Stapleverse and Sapiens. They've done well, but Jeff Staple is like a culture, fashion icon, right? Staple Pigeon is huge, and he's like, I think that's a perfect example of like someone that's in crypto, someone I've been able to connect with through crypto, but it isn't like someone you only look at as an NFT founder. And so I think my goal, at least like now, short term with this pod, is more than anything I'm experimenting, trying out new content. But it's sort of seeing, what can I do with the audience I have in crypto? Like, who can I get on that we don't normally hear from? How can I, I'm a huge NBA guy. How can I, get athletes on? How can I break into some other demographics and touch on some other topics? I think is the goal with the pod, and we're gonna, take it one episode at a time. And I think to your other question, like, what is the long term, short, 1 to 3 years, whatever it is? I think it changes for me a lot, and sometimes I think that's good. Sometimes I think it holds me back, but I feel pretty confident over the last year in the picture I've been able to paint, the sense out of it I've been able to make, that like the only thing I want and care about for the next like 3+ is be the biggest interviewer in the world. It's like biggest host in the world to me. And I think Spaces like open that can of worms where like, yo, not only am I like not awful at this, but like I like this. And then like shooting my first couple pod episodes, like same thing. Going on stage at Yuga for the first time, like same thing. And so I think it's really been the plan, like I would say for the last like 6, it's been the only focus. And I've only shown it through Spaces. But I've also realized that like, biggest host in the world means it's broader than crypto as well, right? You need to be able to do sports, do gaming, whatever it is, topics that are not just where you're comfortable and where you've started. So sort of figuring out like how can I leverage and continue to grow what I've grown in crypto, but use it to hit some other channels and hit some other airwaves while never losing the edge, because the edge is everything. I feel pretty strongly that the edge and it being crypto is like so immensely valuable and will pay like big dividends. But it's like, biggest host in the world, biggest interviewer in the world is a broad North Star that sits beyond just crypto Twitter Spaces. And so really pushing myself down that rabbit hole and down that direction and figuring out, who do I need to speak to? What content do I need to create? Like what events do I need to be at? What stages do I need to host to like help me get towards this direction is where I'm going to be focusing the majority of my efforts. And I think that's sort of the path I'm on right now.
There we go, bro. I'm fucking pumped up for you, dude. You've got so much talent, and like, dude, again, at 21 years old to be doing what you're doing, like, and I hate to bring up age because it's always one of those things where I feel like sometimes people use it to discredit somebody and everything like that. But like thinking about where I was at 21 years old and where you're at 21 years old, like, bro, crazy. So you deserve all the success in the world. I'm super excited to see everything that happens for you in the next year. I'm excited for your podcast to crush it so it can motivate me to keep crushing it. And like, dude, it's that's how we bring out the best in each other. And so, dude, I know we'll have to run this back at some point because we've already been going for like basically 2 hours.
Are we really?
Like, yeah. Oh yeah. And I definitely have more questions for you, but I actually have to go to a dinner after this.
Word.
But dude, we're gonna have to run back a part 2.
on my pod.
100%. Let's rock it. But dude, I appreciate you and just excited again to see everything that you do because you're immensely, immensely talented. And the fact that you've been able to do everything that you've been able to do for the space and bring the vibes at a time when everybody needs it is so immensely needed. And so, dude, I appreciate the fuck out of you. Appreciate you coming on the podcast. Appreciate you being flexible with everything of having to reschedule this like 10 times. But dude, again, just appreciate you as a human and excited to see the next chapter of ThreadGuy.
Marc, it was a blast, bro. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on, dog.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fucking go.
Everybody else, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you're checking out his podcast, and we'll run this again soon.
It was a pleasure, Marc.
See you, bro. See you guys.